happened with the story of the murder. But the story continues, and the letters continue. More letters between the Czechs and the Morse family continued for several years. Helena's first letter to Bertha was a short note dated December 2nd, 1883, in which she enclosed flowers from Wilhelm's grave. She left a note with flowers on his grave and signed it, "Heart, dearest sweetheart, I love you, dear sweetheart, as long as I live." So she came to love him a little bit too late. Her father, Johann, also wrote to William's parents on December 2nd, giving a long account of the murder. And he does writes interesting letters. He writes a lot of speculation and rumors and things that he heard and things like that. So it's that kind of first-person account speculation. Helena wrote another longer letter to Bertha dated January 1, 1884, and goes on to correspond from May 1887. There were 12 letters in all, translated and transcribed for the book. Helena married twice, an Ernest Byers, someone she had known most of her life. She married him in 1886, but he died in 1888 from an infectious disease. And then she marries again in 1893 to John Wiederanders, and they had 8 children. In 1907, they moved to Will Barber County, and she spent her days there in Vernon, Texas, and she died at the age of 93. And she spent her whole life writing a lot of letters. And some of these, her later letters to her granddaughter or daughter are also transcribed, included in the book. And in some of her letters to her daughter, she reflects more on her young life that family had never heard of until she started sharing these letters. So my takeaways and my wonderings about this is, first of all, I was struck by the literacy of the people that were writing the letters. And in reading more about the Windish community, when they established a church, they also established a school. They would call a pastor and they would call a teacher. And so education was very important to them, and I think that helped them be literate. Because Helena's letters are just really newsy, chatty, very descriptive. It's fun to read. And it makes me also wonder about what might be lost when we do texts and post things on social media that then has this really, it's there and then you try to go back and find it again and you can't find it because it's buried and there's so much stuff. It's like, what are we losing with our the way we communicate nowadays? And we don't write these long, newsy letters to people. A second takeaway is the fact that documents were saved. Somebody saved these letters back in Germany. And they also had the space to save them. Because if you think about you're downsizing, what am I going to get rid of? And you might be throwing away. That might be something might be